With the new chapter Boruto Tubular Vortex now out, we certainly get some interesting revelations, specifically as far as the Shinju are concerned. Right, so the chapter begins with Boruto defending Konoha and company from Hidari, with Hidari still keen on perhaps capturing Sarada for his own motives, right, being, as we all know, a clone of Sasuke, with Sasuke, as we even learn in this chapter, being the source of power for Hidari. Right, we also get some interesting power scaling revelations as well, with obviously Boruto being far above him, but as well as even Konohamaru and Sarada holding their own against him, with Sarada using a Chidori stream to ward him off, and Konohamaru using a Rasen barrier to ward him off as well. What this displays is that, one, Sarada is very powerful, and two, perhaps Hidari is not as powerful as perhaps Jura, who essentially at this point has been confirmed to be the leader of the Shinju. From a power perspective and an intellect perspective, he seems to be the superior at this point in time. Also, I might add, with Konohamaru aiding in this altercation, and specifically aiding Boruto, he perhaps is hesitating to obviously conform to his own memories with, as we all know, Ido brainwashing the entire globe with her omnipotence. So perhaps the notion that Boruto is a worldwide terrorist is starting to fade in some of the minds of these shinobi, right? With Sarada constantly pleading, hey, Boruto saved me, Boruto's an ally, etc. Clearly that's starting to take a toll on these fabricated memories that have been implanted by Ida and her omnipotence. But continuing on with the power scaling revelations here, Boruto actually uses a near full power Rasengan Uzuhiko, right? As we all know, in the first couple of chapters of Tubular Vortex, Boruto utilized this ability on Code as a negotiation tactic to cause him and force his hand to reveal where the Ten Tails is to deal with it, right? To avoid future problems such as the Shinju. But what we can deduce is that he didn't use the full capabilities of the Rasengan at that point in time, as he didn't want to kill Code, but rather just force his hand with this interrogation tactic, right? He wanted to implement pain upon him to force him to expose this information. But here, he states, I'm going to use a full power Rasengan Uzuhiko by channeling the power of the planet, right? The chakra of the planet and its rotational energy, and implement it on Hidari to one-shot him. So what we also know is that a prerequisite for that is that he has to be connected to the earth, right? His feet has to be planted on the ground, on the earth, to channel that energy and foster it into the Rasengan Uzuhiko, right? And he states and implies he wasn't able to use it at maximum output because Sarada and Konohamaru were in danger. So he says it's now or never. But it's still nearly one-shot Hidari, right? It blows him in half, which is very impressive, right? We haven't seen a Shinju of that caliber be dealt with so effortlessly, or so thoroughly, rather. And then we see Kawaki take him out, right? Kawaki puts the final nail in the coffin. And now we jump to perhaps the most interesting revelation of the chapter. What happens after the death of one of these Shinju, right? These sentient Ten-Tail clones. They become what is called a thorn soul bulb. And apparently, Koji Kashin and Boruto were already aware of this phenomenon, right? Because as soon as Boruto grabs and picks up this bulb, he confirms with Koji that this is in fact a thorn soul bulb. And clearly, we aren't given anything else on the matter, but the way it is described and spoken about is very interesting. And obviously, soon after, we get some more power scaling revelations, right? With Jura, the leader of the Shinju, essentially one-shotting Boruto with this long-distance laser beam that came out of his eye, right? He uses this long-distance laser beam and shortly misses Boruto's vitals, according to him. He was trying to eliminate him, but he failed to kill him in one shot, but did disable him enough to pull the thorn soul bulb of Hidari back to him. So clearly this bulb has value even to the Shinju, right? That allows us to theorize what it could possibly be, right? This thorn soul bulb perhaps is the heart of a Shinju, the source of a Shinju's power. And after you destroy or defeat a Shinju, all that's left is the bulb itself, right? And perhaps the bulb is needed to restore perhaps the Shinju once again. Because if the bulb was useless, then Jura wouldn't have pulled that bulb back with what appeared to be a universal pull. So more than likely, this bulb has some interesting properties and are essentially what are the hearts of these Shinju. I would assume that if Jura were defeated, or Bug, for example, then their Thorn Soul Bulb will emerge as well. But the reason I said this is a power scaling revelation as well is because Jura quite casually was able to achieve this feat. Now, to be fair to Boruto, he wasn't on guard for an attack, let alone at that distance, with others being impressed by the very distance that Jura was able to attack someone, right? That was a pretty substantial distance, and he was able to nearly kill Boruto in one shot, just further adding to the danger that Jura presents. And this also allows you to substantiate the theory that perhaps he's above Boruto as well, right? Because clearly Boruto is one of the most powerful individuals in the entire verse. We can confirm he's above Kawaki. We can confirm he's above Code, no limiter Code nonetheless, who's above Jigen, hence he's above Prime Naruto and Sasuke, excluding Baryon mode. Hence, Boruto is one of the most powerful individuals on Earth. But Jura seems to be possibly above that, especially after this chapter, right? Doing what he did quite casually. It seems like he just used one of his casual tricks to nearly eliminate Boruto, right? And Boruto really hasn't been tested as of yet. He really hasn't been tested in battle since the commencement of Two Blue Vortex, right? In present time, rather. He hasn't been tested. Code was no threat. Kawaki couldn't really get the jump on him nor challenge him. Hidari didn't seem to be a problem. So Jura seems like the legitimate threat at the moment. Obviously, after what took place, Boruto now is going to have to heal quickly, right? Because at the end of the chapter, we learn that Jura is now aspiring to kill Boruto, right? Because of the information that he has confirmed Boruto to now know, right? With Boruto knowing of this Thorn Soul Bulb, it has caused concern for Jura. Perhaps there are other secrets alongside or parallel to this secret, and perhaps it's enough of a problem that Jura has concluded, okay, I have to take Boruto out, right? He needs to go now. That's essentially what he's implying. So there are perhaps other secrets of this Shinju that have at least been theorized by Boruto and Koji, right? Because simply knowing of the bulb, I'd say, isn't enough for someone at Jura's caliber to be like, all right, I gotta take him out, right? Because it seems a prerequisite to attain the bulb, the Thorn Soul Bulb, is to defeat a Shinju. And unless Jura is below Boruto, which doesn't seem to be the case as of now, obviously, I'm speculating, but however, perhaps there are other secrets that could lead to the defeat of Jura, right? And is the reason why Jura is more adamant now on eliminating Boruto specifically. So this chapter was a quick-paced chapter, but rightfully so, right? With the battle being the majority of this chapter with Hidari, and with the power scaling revelations we have come to now know, right? Konohamaru isn't exactly weak. I wouldn't go out on a limb and say because he was able to ward off Hidari momentarily that Hidari is weak. I think everyone that's a sentient Shinju is a problem. I think they are near the top of the verse, even individually, especially Jura, obviously, who one-shotted Kawaki, who beat him at Wari, etc. So, and just one-shotted Boruto. So clearly, Jura is perhaps the strongest entity in the entire verse, besides a theoretical Shiba Otsutsuki, right, the god of Otsutsuki himself. So this was a quick-paced chapter, very interesting chapter, and just further adds to the mystery of the Shinju. So what we know currently of the Shinju is that they are sentient ten-tail clones that are aware of their sentience, right? They are aware of their what they call ego. They're aware of that individualistic trait that they all possess, right? And because of this individualistic trait, they've all fixated on certain people, and it seems to be someone that their clone is appealed to. Like, for example, Hidari has fixated on Sarada because he is the clone of Sasuke, and as we all know, Sarada is Sasuke's daughter, hence that connection. Jura seems to be fixated on Naruto Uzumaki, but we don't know who he is the clone of. We can theorize who he could possibly be the clone of, but we do know that more than likely the person Jura is a clone of is connected in a significant way to Naruto Uzumaki, right? That we do know, right? So these Shinju are certainly polarizing figures, right? Obviously power-wise, specifically Jura, but also character-wise, because they're very intricate in their design, right? They all have their own ego. They all are sentient. They all have, obviously, the common goal of completing the 10 toes sort of evolution, but they also have their own individual objectives and do want to understand humanity, specifically Jura, right? Jura, being the leader, seems to question everything, right? Why humans don't take the logical approach in things, but rather are willing to sacrifice their own lives to protect their fellow shinobi, right? Jura has questioned this several times. He says, why would you go out of your way to defend these people when you know you'll die, right? He's aware that humans have this intrinsic desire, but he doesn't understand where it stems from, right? So despite the sentience of these 10-toed clones, they're not very familiar with emotion. They're not familiar with loyalty, with emotion, with these intrinsic feelings that shinobi and humans feel, right? So they're trying to understand that. They're questioning their reality, right? As opposed to the primal 10-toed clones that have no ability to rationalize, right? They simply just consume chakra. That's all they do, right? They defeat opponents and consume chakra. But these Shinju have more layers to them, which makes them interesting. It makes them polarizing. So I like the direction that Kishimoto and company are going with the Shinju. It makes them interesting and mysterious, right? We're still wondering what are these entities exactly? What exactly is their final goal, right? What exactly are they aiming towards here? So certainly very excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see the next chapter, as a matter of fact, with Boruto specifically, because Jura is now adamant on killing Boruto. And so I'm curious to see, will he have some sort of god-like healing ability? He heals in some cracked way. I wouldn't be surprised if Boruto just heals quite quickly and we see a battle ensue. I truly believe that if they were to battle, even with Boruto healing and going at full power, I do believe Jura would win. I don't think we're at the point in the narrative where Boruto's prepared to win the day. So I do believe Jura is the superior at the time. But yeah, folks, that's my review on chapter 12. Very interesting from a narrative perspective. The ideologies that are being explored, very interesting. Boruto attempting to maintain and care for the shinobi way that his father implemented and promoted to the world, right? He's trying to protect that. He's trying to maintain that. He doesn't want that legacy to disappear. Naruto and Sasuke, I should say, are the advocates, the leading advocates for the shinobi way, right? And Boruto's trying to protect that, and that's quite clear, with the Shinju representing the death of the shinobi way, right? With the Shinju and the Otsutsuki in general representing that. They represent the death of it. They're a threat. They're an adversary to it. They're a counterpart to it, with their own ideology being just the consumption of power, the gaining of power through dishonorable means. That's what they represent, the Shinju and the Otsutsuki, and the scientific age and the alien age. That's what all that represents. But Boruto's trying to ward that off, both physically and ideologically. But yeah, folks, I'm certainly interested to see where this is headed. Great chapter, and feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. That's going to wrap it up, and I'll see you in the next one, folks. Stay classy.